It's reported that Arsenal now have moved it up to 100 million plus 5 to get the England international. West Ham obviously are in the best position here, watching these two teams battle it out for their star man. In the end, do you think it will just come down to who Rice chooses, or will West Ham just go for the bigger offer?
I think it'll go to who Declan Rice wants to go to. And the word is that he does favour Arsenal. I think, you know, on one hand, you've got a Man City, you're pretty much guaranteed trophies, certainly for the next couple of years while Pep Guardiola's there. But if you got a Man City and you're Declan Rice, you might not play every week. I mean, I think me and Nedum have tried to come up with a probable team, and he doesn't get in my team, Declan Rice, at Man City. He doesn't get in the strongest 11. If he goes to Arsenal, he plays every week, and he turned up as a captain because he's that sort of player. So I think David Moyes said 3 or 4 months ago that if Declan Rice was to go this summer, it would cost a British record transfer fee. And I think Enzo Fernandez was that, about £106 million at Chelsea. So we're not far away, £105 million. So I think he will go where he wants to go. And I think unless Man City blow Arsenal out of the water, I think he'll go to Arsenal.
Frank, where would you go?
I knew you would ask me that question. It's tricky because, as Mark explained, you know, if you want to play and you want to be sure to play, yeah, you have to go to the Gunners. But you cannot deny that Manchester City is the best club in the world, and if you want to have a chance to win the Champions League, even if you don't play so often, you would go to Manchester City. I personally would go to Manchester City. I would take the chance and take the risk to go for a big club with a big competition in between players, but with a big chance to win trophies. Because at the end of the day, what counts at the end of your career is what you did in your career and what you won.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? And I heard you boys talking about it yesterday and how Stevie was suggesting that he could play a little bit further forward, and he could. But it is a risk for him to an extent. I mean, I think he'd get way more game time than Calvin Phillips.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be... I think he would be a little bit biting the nails on a Thursday and Friday, wondering if he's going to be playing every week. Whereas at Arsenal, it's definitely a project. There's no guarantees. But there's something that going into that... And Arsenal are a great club. Going in there and driving this team on again. You know, Arteta can say, look, we've bolstered with Havertz. We signed Jesus and Zinchenko last year. We've got Martinelli, Odegaard and Saka. Saliba was brilliant up until his injury. Ramsdale was fantastic. We're going in the right direction. You're a big piece of this puzzle. You're going to stay in London, where you're from. You're going to play for this club, and we're going to hunt Man City down. So that's... I know
that's how you would sell it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know people say, well, that's all pie in the sky. And I get that, but you have to sell your football club. And I think, had Arsenal not performed in the manner in which they did last season and were kind of an afterthought, squeezed into 4th place, you know, had a pretty average season, Arteta scraped by, then, yeah, you know, you don't even think about it. But you look at Arsenal and just think, do you know what, I could go in there and be the difference. And I think that could be a sway for him, potentially. But I think Arsenal should have done this early doors. And I know you're always trying to get the best deal, but they have to have known there's going to be others in the hunt. And I feel Arsenal should just have gone to West Ham early. Look,
yeah.
Here's the
100.
Here's the 100. Let's get this done now, get it cleaned up, get it signed. But they've left the door just slightly ajar. And that's, as you said, and only in one club's favour, and that is West Ham United.
Nedum, where would he play? How would he fit into this Manchester City team?
I think he's such a good player. He could be playing as a 6, could be playing more as an 8. And I think that's one of the best things about the way that, say, the City side works. Players come in and they can adapt. And they adapt with some great players around them, great infrastructure, and, you know, one of the best managers the Premier League's ever seen. So, you know, that's how I would potentially see it. But there'd be lots of different ways in which he could do it. And if he does end up going to Arsenal, it would be a shame from a Man City standpoint. But, you know, you can kind of see the reasons why. And I think that's the sort of interesting thing about this. You look at a team that's just come off winning a treble, a team that finished the season didn't win anything. But you can see the draw of going to Arsenal. You know, it's a younger team, feels like it's a project. He's staying in the same city as him. And he could very well fall into this Man City side and be incredible, do exceptionally well. But, you know, it seems like from the reports we're hearing that his heart is set on staying in London and going to be an Arsenal player. So if that bid goes in and it's accepted, you know, I'd say good luck to him. And you can see how he's going to fit into the Arsenal side. If it's replacing, I think, Granit Xhaka playing more of like an 8, but he can still drop back in and do a 6 as well. You know, you can see him in that side. You can see the value they would have, as Craig said. You can see him being the difference maker for them and really driving them forward. But for City, you know, it's always the sum of the parts. For as good as everyone is as individually, it's always about the collective, and that's one of the reasons why they're successful. And they do have a slightly older team than Arsenal. I think the average age was like 28 or something. Whereas I think the Arsenal side last year in the Premier League was the second youngest in the Premiership, so in the Premier League rather. So I see it. It's a shame if he doesn't come to City because I think he's a fantastic player. But you know, good luck to him.
Meanwhile, one player we know is going to City, Kovacic. How excited are you by this addition, Nedum?
Listen, I don't get excited by much, Dan. You know me, but I think he's a very. It's good that you can get a player from, you know, this is an awkward one now. Like, is Chelsea a rival to Man City? You know, it's weird that these deals are sort of happening where you can just draw someone across like that. But there are some Chelsea fans who will miss him because he has done well for them. And he's coming in at the age where, you know, he's probably going to be playing his best football for the next 2-3 years. So I think it is a really good addition. He's obviously very different in terms of style of play to a Gundogan. But I think this is the beauty of this Man City side. They're very good at adapting. What we saw last year might be different to what we see in this next year. And someone that comes in with that wealth of experience, you know, Champions League winner, you know, has played at Real Madrid as well. I think it's a good signing to add to the squad. And that's the thing, we always say squad, because I don't think there are many individuals within that team that are guaranteed a starting place unless they're really, you know, pulling up trees like a Haaland, like Rodri, and maybe like a Ruben Diaz or an Edison, essentially.
Do you like it from a City perspective, Frank?
But Kovacic is a fantastic player, and I had no doubt that Pep Guardiola is a kind of coach who really appreciates players like Kovacic, because he's like a little bit Pep Guardiola when he was playing for Barcelona. Very smart, clever, anticipating everything, playing simple, exactly like Manchester City players in the middle of the park can play. So I'm not surprised by the choice of Pep Guardiola, and I'm not surprised by the fact that Kovacic wants to go there. I mean, again, and I keep on saying that Manchester City is the best club in the world right now. So who would say no to an offer from the citizens? And Chelsea not playing the Champions League, Chelsea struggling a little bit of buying some players. For me, it's an obvious choice from Kovacic, and because he served the Blues very well, I wish him the best for his future.
So none of those players really replace Gundogan's nous and getting into that final third. Timing the runs, ghosting into that box, getting the goals. None of those players. Kovacic is I think Kovacic is a great signing for that money. As Nedum said, that covers a lot of areas bolstering the squad. And the difference between Rice, City and Arsenal is City don't really need Declan Rice. Not really.
Right.
I mean, it'll be an added bonus for them getting a young player of that ilk at 24 years old, but they don't really need him. Arsenal do. Right. That's the big difference. You know, Arsenal need to push on, particularly with City getting Kovacic in there. It's an extra body in the middle of the park, but somebody else, you know, all right, I'm going to say somebody else has to come up with the goals. There's a big Norwegian lad up front who scored the few. But somebody else from a slightly deeper position, that when games were tight and Haaland was getting frustrated, or like we saw in the game in the Bernabeu when Rudiger did a really good job on him, when centre-halves are getting really tight to him, Erling Haaland, that's when you need that midfield runner to get in behind. Sure. So that's not an easy position to fill that Ilkay Gundogan played, because it takes a lot of experience and nous to be able to time those runs. And none of those players that have been mentioned are players that you really think about doing that. So